Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Lighthouse Sessions. And today I have my friend Jeff Kothe with me, and we are going to be discussing how humor fits into business. So, Jeff, let's start with tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into humor.
And I'm not sure I can leave humor out of where I am and what I do, who I am, and that kind of thing, but I will try. I am a corporate comedian, which means I do clean comedy, and I do it in front of conventions, conferences, and that type of thing. But I do it with a message of how to add humor to business for more memorability, which means more profit because you make more sales, more at bats, and that kind of thing. I stress the idea of humor does not have to mean that your sales pitch has to start with "there once was a man from Nantucket," or a priest and a rabbi walk into a bar. Those are jokes. Jokes are humor, but humor is not necessarily jokes. So what I try to do is prove my point of humor makes you more memorable, and more memorable makes more at-bats. So that's pretty much where I'm at.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about that evolution, because I know you've had a lifetime of comedy, and I think we'll show that sarcasm is valid comedy. I've been told that it's the lowest form of humor, and I'm like, I feel like it's the highest, but that's just me. So I tell people sarcasm's free. What's guided you to this path that you're on today?
There's a couple things. Sarcasm definitely is one of them. I speak it fluently. I also talk in sitcoms, which means if you ask me a question, my initial response will probably be the funny one you might expect on a sitcom. Then I'll give you the real answer afterwards. But I knew I wanted to be involved in comedy from a very young age, 7 or 8 years old. Studied comedy, the George Carlins of the world, and believe it or not, Gallagher, which is interesting because most people, they remember the smashing the watermelons. That's the least favorite part of Gallagher that I have. My thing is I'm a wordsmith. And George Carlin was very much a wordsmith in that he would literally take apart words and say, wait a minute, like are you going to get on the plane? Let Evel Knievel get on the plane. I'm getting in the plane. And those kind of things, like where did that saying come from? That's the kind of thing that I like. Why do we say it that way? Why do people think this way? I question everything, sometimes to my wife's dismay, but that's another story. So the wordsmith part of it. The other thing I like to pride myself on, I'm not bragging, it is not a coincidence though. Most really good comedians are very intelligent people because of the wordsmithing, because of the editing. The perfect joke is the least amount of words to draw the same picture in the eye of in the mind of the listener. Draw a picture in the eye of the listener and hear anyway. So I'm very much into the editing as much as I am the writing. For instance, believe it or not, I have a joke that I started writing when I was about 9 or 10, and I'm still working on it. I'm 63. If that gives you an idea. The thing is, I started, it was an interesting idea. Do you mind if I go into it just a little bit? The evolution of it? Okay. My father liked grape nut cereal, and my mother used to give it to my sister and I. Again, I was 9. She was probably 7.5 or so. She's about 1.5 years younger than I am. And she'd give us grape nut cereal, and we took a bite of it, and it's like, this stuff is going to break my teeth, Mom. This is like eating rocks. And so my mom, in all of her wisdom, by the way, she had me when she was very, very young, and obviously, and my sister as well. And she poured hot coffee on it to kind of soften the nuggets, so to speak, of the grape nuts. We ate that and said, oh, that coffee made it bitter. Oh, let me put some sugar on it. Put some sugar on it. So my mother feeds us caffeine and sugar in the morning. Can't figure out why my sister and I are bouncing off the walls all day. And so that was that actually happened. That is not an exaggeration. That's not even part of the joke I tell anymore. But it got my mind going. I was like, well, wait a minute. Why do they call this stuff grape nuts? If you go down the cereal aisle at the grocery store and you see a box of Rice Krispies, you got a pretty good idea what's in the box, right?
Yep.
If you see a box of shredded wheat, you got a pretty good idea. You see a box of grape nuts. How did they come up with the name of that? There's no grapes. There's no nuts. I had no idea the male grape was more involved in cereal than the female grape. It should be called Brown Rocks, is what it should be called, and it's not. And somebody told me afterwards that Jerry Seinfeld did a joke about grape nuts. I've never heard it. And they said, well, you just stole that from Seinfeld. I said, I would venture a guess he stole it from me is more likely. So I started that joke when I was 9. That's 54 years ago. I'm pretty sure I got the goods on that. I think I have proof of it in writing. But anyway, so the thing is that editing is important because I think Anthony Jeselnik is also one of my heroes. He's very much a wordsmith, and editing down what you're saying, I think, is huge to get the shortest possible way to convey the same message. And interestingly enough, I think that's important in sales too. I've been in sales all my life, and getting that message across so that you get a complete thought without raising objections to that complete thought. And that's huge in sales. That was a long answer to your question, I know.
No, that was a great answer. And my thoughts are, I do agree wholeheartedly that people who are interested in humor tend to be more intelligent than their peers. And, yes, I get that there are people, Gallagher smashing pumpkins and watermelons and things like that. But it's that wordsmithing, and for me, I'm a ghostwriter, so everything I do is about the words, and you need to figure out how somebody can misinterpret something or how they can misrepresent it or misunderstand it.
Sure.
And I think there's that clarity, and I agree wholeheartedly that sales, I can't remember who said it, so I'll figure it out and find it, but somebody said that your job as a salesperson is to be impossible to misunderstand. And I feel like that's a Steve Sims quote, but I might be misquoting that. But the reality is, if we can't be concise and clear, we're not going to be memorable. And, I used to go to a lot of networking events where people would teach, here's my 5-minute and 30-second elevator pitch. No, thank you. My brain doesn't remember. I don't memorize things. I remember the things that either make me laugh or make me cry. You make me laugh, we're going to be friends.
Right.
Make me cry, then I got to figure out if I like you or not.
It's interesting you brought up the networking and how it can be and that kind of thing. There's one thing I learned in networking is a gentleman told me that the best way to introduce yourself, to stay away from the 5-minute pitch and so forth, was, how when somebody does this, yeah, I fixed that. And to tell people, because the first thing you do is you get them to relate. My idea is, how when you give your pitch to somebody and they say, I want to think about it, and by dinner time, they won't remember your offer or even your name, I fixed that. I want to make you more memorable so that you get more chances. 80% of sales are made between the 5th and the 12th touch. If they don't remember the first time for the second touch, the 5th one's pretty much impossible, right? So let's figure out how to get you to the 5th one. Then you got a better chance of getting 6 through 12, because 80% of sales, that's a lot of money you're leaving on the table. And a little bit of humor doesn't cost anything to get you to that 5th step.
Yeah. And I think in business and in sales and in networking, the worst thing you can be is forgettable.
One of the things I usually do when somebody says, hey, Jeff, how you doing? My answer is never, I'm okay, how are you? And I make the face on purpose and I do the voice on purpose. That's not my answer. My answer is, I am awesome, but I am improving. And I've only had one lady say, well, what's an improvement from awesome? I said, phantasmagorical. I have no idea if that's even a word, but you know what? She remembers me.
Yeah.
The truth is, I don't remember her. Anyway, that's not the important part. And the thing is, with the networking events I do go to, and yes, I do, I would say that most of the people that meet me remember me for the things that I say. And it's not that I'm trying to be famous. I'm just trying to be memorable. Because if somebody comes up with a comedy person that I can put on my podcast, or a possibility for me speaking on their stage or somebody else's stage, or helping a business with their humor, I'm going to be remembered for that. So that, to me, that's really, really important.
Excellent. Now I'm going to go down a path because I think a lot of people equate humor with offense. And I think you and I, in our, before we started recording, we talked a little bit about it, that, you know, it doesn't have to offend. It's just, you're taking them down the path they think you're going, and then you redirect them to something different. How would you describe your style, and how it works in a non-offensive way? Because I think a lot of people are worried you got to tell terrible, rude, you know, Eddie Murphy style, not stand-up jokes.
Back to the once was a man from Nantucket.
Yes.
So, here's the thing. A lot of people don't realize that it doesn't have to be joke to be humor. For example, if your company is having a fire drill at 3 o'clock on Friday, telling people we're going to have a fire drill, by the way, it's going to be just like the loudest rock concert you never bought a ticket to. Wait a minute, what? So that's part of it, okay? Introducing the break room as this is where all the good ideas come from, not the meeting room, the break room. How many people are just here for the pizza or the donuts? To take a new person to the company and give them a prize the second day for just showing up the second day. You made it through day one. Now we're going to do this all over again.
Yeah.
It makes it memorable. It also, as leadership, it makes the leadership more approachable. And if the leadership is more approachable, more ideas go to the leadership, and maybe they can develop some of the stuff. Humor also encourages creativity. Thinking outside the box is the norm when there's humor involved, because they're trying to think, well, how can I make this funny without going to human resources for it, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be offensive to be funny. Something you do, have a contest for funniest thing I did when I was a kid. It's just reporting something that happened. It shouldn't be offensive. It actually happened to you. It's just a story. Now, unless you were arrested for something, all right, there's always that. There's a fine line.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's ease up on that a little bit.
But I think that's the thing, you know. I've always had a great disdain for April Fool's Day, and you know, it's like, okay, it's predictable, it's usually annoying, and it's almost always destructive, and it's only funny to the person doing it. But the good humor can be something that engages rather than disengages.
Yeah. I have found, and the reason I was so addicted to comedy after I started it was, there is nothing like the high of 200 or 300 people laughing at something that you thought up in your head, some goofy idea that you projected to the point where they could relate and go, oh yeah, that's pretty good. And the more of those you have, like I said, it's an addiction. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, you tell somebody, I do stand-up comedy. Oh my God, I could never do that. Here's the other one. People don't believe I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
I was a wallflower, and I'm not anymore. I'm the kind of person that I'll walk into an elevator that's already got people in it, and I'll face the back of the elevator looking at them, and then I turn around and I look at the weight capacity, and I look at them, look at the weight. What are you people looking at? Just to see the reaction. I've been to a barber out of town before, and I said, yeah, could you do me a favor, a little longer in the top, a little thicker in the back, please? And she just looked at me. I'm sorry, a little thicker on the top, a little longer in the back, please. Just to see if they're listening, see what they do.
Yeah.
And to get the reaction from people, I love to see the reaction of I call it the scratch the record moment. Like I'm awesome, but I'm improving. If you have a radio on and it goes silent for a while, it may be quite a while before you even notice it. It may be a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes. You go, oh, wow, hey, dead air. But if that record skips or scratches, that radio's got your full attention, right? That's what I think the scratch the record does, is like, oh, wait, whoa, wait, what did you say? And people will make me repeat it because they weren't expecting it. And when you repeat it, now you've double got their attention.
Yeah.
It's important. It gets you more at bats, gets you more toward that 5th to 12th swing.
Well, in my little style, I never once considered myself funny, but apparently people laugh at me when I say things, and I just thought that was my autism showing. But the aha moment is I deliberately take cliche sayings and I'll turn them around, and people want to correct me, and I'm like, or is it my way? I'll give you one. That there's a saying, there's a method to my madness. I always say there's a madness to my method, and they look at me and try to correct me, and I'm like, nope, I stand by it.
I had it right the first time.
Yep.
Yeah.
You do your way, I'll do mine, but it's giving them what they think they're expecting, but then in an unexpected package. So
Yeah. And Jeff, again, I'll ask for your mother's maiden name, because I think we are brothers from a different mother or something. I'm not sure how that's connected, but you know where I'm going with it.
yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the impact you have on business, because one of my big things, I preach about clarity and bringing insight to a business. I think you're probably bringing a humorous angle to that, where you can look at things and, honest to God, if your boardroom meetings are putting people to sleep, you're not having the impact you hope for. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. I don't think there's anybody listening that hasn't been to some kind of a meeting where sleep was the number one priority. Versus most meetings could have gotten done with an email, right? A 2-minute email instead of a 20 to 40 or 60-minute meeting. That's absolutely true. But the other part of it is, if you think about the humor side, if people are laughing and more creative at work, they like their job better. So the burnout is less, the stress is less, which means that it's saving the company money. That's profitability that they don't really see. It doesn't show up as a bottom line. The creativity allows them to do more things, especially if leadership knows about it. And if you eliminate stress and burnout and encourage creativity and communication, you've accomplished an awful lot in your company. How many people love to go to work? And how many people, have you ever had a job before, whatever you're doing now, did you love going to work, or did you have, how many people wake up on a Monday morning and say, yeah, I got to go? Or is it, oh God, 5 more of these?
Yeah.
I used to tell people I have 4 or 5 Mondays a week.
There's always that, oh, yay, today's the day we have our all hands meeting. And, there's always that one person who brings 20 slides to their 3-minute presentation update.
And then reads the slides to you. That's the one that drives me crazy. Well, I mean, they've changed the slide. I've already read it. Then they start reading it to me. You want to put people to sleep. That's a really good way to do it.
Yeah.
But one of the other things that people don't think about, Jeremy Miner is big on this. Never use the word follow-up when you're making a follow-up sales call. And maybe do it in email. It said, a quick question. And then on the 3, I said, one of these 3 had to happen. 1, you haven't had time to think about my offer. 2, you've decided against it and just haven't told me. 3, you've been abducted by aliens, and that whole probe thing has got you scared so that you can't tell me what's going on. And it's like, wait a minute, what? You'll find out if they're actually reading your emails, for one. Yeah. But you'll probably get a response out of it, which isn't that the purpose of it entirely.
Yeah.
So is it meant to just make them bust out laughing? No, it's meant to scratch the record. It's meant to give them a reason to go, oh, wow, that's different. Different is memorable, and people need to realize that. I always say that the Karens of the world, the 2% of the people that actually are offended, and if you're offended on the behalf of somebody else, you need to go. But the people that are offended are 2% of America, and they're 70 to 90% of social media. There's something really wrong with that picture. Now, it's not as bad as it was 2 and 3 years ago, because COVID gave everybody license to go out and just post whatever they wanted. Here's what I'm liking it to. If you're walking down a hallway and you go to take a right-hand turn and somebody else is turning your direction, and they didn't give you room to go on the inside, okay, wait a minute. Don't you know the rules of the road? And not only do they probably apologize, they make sure you're okay and they keep walking. If you're in a car and do that, they don't apologize. You're probably going to get a very select finger pointed at you or up at you, that kind of thing. Yeah. And if the internet, to me, has made that 100 times worse, because the anonymity is so much different than the car. Because the car, they might be able to look back and see your license plate or follow you and go where you're going.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen on the internet. And the anonymity, I think, is a very dangerous thing. There, I'm off my high horse.
The keyboard bravery. Well, Jeff, I could talk to you all day. I do want to be mindful of your time. So if somebody's watching this and they say, you know, I like this, Jeff, I want to get to know him, where can they go to find you and connect with you?
I am on LinkedIn. Pretty easy to find me there. There's not a whole lot of Kothes on there. I feel sorry for the other Jeff Kothe in California. He's probably not real happy about me in his business. But the other place is if you go to jeffkothe.com. I also, that would be to hire me as a speaker, where I will come and do comedy and add the profit strategies and that kind of thing. But also I will do some consulting, and that's at humor.jeffkothe.com. So I'm at any of those places. You'll be able to find me. I answer everything. My wife is not happy with most of the time I am sitting at my 2 32-inch monitors in front of me to be able to help people do what they do. One of the beautiful things in my entire career is I've always had something where I could help people get better at what they want to do. And that's the biggest part that I love about my job.
Love it. And I will attest, Jeff is an actual real human being. If you reach out to him on LinkedIn, he responds. Sometimes getting us to focus on the serious things, not really that urgent, but we figure it out. Jeff, is there anything I should have asked you that you want to share with my audience that we haven't already discussed?
I think one of the things that have been asked before that I think struck a chord with some people is the being memorable doesn't even necessarily have to be comedy. I literally got reposted today. I had a gentleman from Pakistan talking to me about his branding that he gave up. And I said, why did you give it up? He was the banana shake person. I don't even remember why it was the banana shake person. And quite frankly, I'm not sure I could give you his full name right now on a bet. However, I remember the banana shake person. He says, I'm getting away from that because I want people to remember my name and my business. I said, you're walking away from the biggest thing that's going to help you do that. Yeah. And he said, you think I should put it back? I said, no, I know you should put it back. He went, really? Yeah. And he posted that, and he had dozens of people respond. He says, yeah, you need to keep that. So I'm glad that somebody took a little bit of advice. My whole point is, if you're just starting out, you got to know people. Your network is your net worth, but you need to make sure you're memorable, because if you're just somebody who says, well, I do this and I'm just like everybody else, that's what they hear. I have something I call a market dominating position. Anybody that's new in business or starting a new venture, a new part of the business, you need to know why you are better and different than everybody else that's seen as your competition. If you don't know why you are better and different, and I say the and very importantly, because being better or different is not near as good.
Yep.
What makes you better and different does several things. One, it makes you the only game in town. They stop shopping. Two, it allows you to price anything you want to price for your services because you are the only answer. And it promotes a word that I didn't invent, but I absolutely love it. It's called onlyness. Not loneliness, onlyness. If you're the only one that does what you do, your competition's gone. Yeah. And you don't need to worry about that. So knowing your market, if you don't know what your market dominating position is, your clients, your prospects have no way of knowing. And it makes a big difference. I had a lady add almost $300,000 in value to her chiropractic business, and took less than a year to do that just by changing her market dominating position. So that's it. How's that for my own commercial?
That is amazing. Well, Jeff, thank you for taking the time to hang out with me today.
Jeff, I appreciate you inviting me. This has been fun.